60 to 70 years or so had passed, and the hope that Armenians would eventually return to their homeland began to seem more and more unlikely. Justice for the Armenian genocide and the Armenian nation was nowhere to be seen, no awareness or recognition, and the Turkish government continued to embody the racist and violent attitude against the Armenians inside and outside its borders. In 1973, Gurgen Yanikyan assassinated 2 Turkish consular officials who were open deniers of the Armenian genocide here in Southern California. He was a genocide survivor, whose actions ignited a movement of targeted violence towards Turkish State actors that took place in the 1970s and 80s around the world, which we call Zinyal Baykar. These controversial and morally obscure actions from members of our community were at times hard to understand and approve of, but it happened, and the Turkish State felt it. They feared it. Our guest today, Hampig Sassounian, was one of those who participated in this movement, whose actions in Los Angeles made his name widely known in our community and the greater diaspora. As a result, he spent nearly 40 years in a California state prison. We wanted to get to know Hampig and to learn about his story and his plans moving forward, who after prison has now moved to Armenia to start his life anew in the homeland. You are listening to Hayastan Talks, the official podcast of the AYF West. I'm Hampig Sassounian.
And I'm Huddle Bird.
And we're just a couple of Armenians
talking in the world.
A couple of Armenians talking in the world.
Welcome, Angher Hampig. On behalf of the AYF West and Hayastan Talks Committee, we would like to welcome you and thank you for accepting our invitation. You're no stranger to the Hayastan brand. You've written many times in our magazine over the years. We've written about you many times, including our most recent publication this year. We had an interview with you in there as well. So it's great to take you to now a new medium, the podcast medium as well. So thanks again for being here.
Yeah, I just want to say that for years and years I've been reading Hayastan, and you guys do a great job. But I haven't, of course, I can't listen to this radio one or this version of you guys doing right now, in Armenia. But I want to let you guys know that Hayastan has been there for a long time, and he's been great there for the youth and to educate them and to keep them focused and about the importance of Armenian cause, about justice and freedom and country and our people, and I have great love and respect for Hayastan, and you guys are doing a great job. Whether it's the magazine or the radio or whatever, you guys doing a great job. I'm very proud of you guys.
Thanks, Angher. No, it's a cool project, and it's this way we're kind of reaching a new audience too, and it's good. It's the first time a lot of people might even be hearing the voice of AYF. They've maybe read the words of AYF, but so it's cool. But yeah, we're very excited, and thanks again for being here, Angher. This is gonna be cool.
Absolutely. Anytime you guys want in the future, I'll be there because I'm 100%. For what you guys are doing, it's about our people, our country, and about justice and about freedom. And nobody in their right mind would oppose anything like that. Anybody that has any human morals and values will go against these, against these morals and against these values. So anytime you guys want me, all you guys do is call and I'll be there, like that song says.
Yeah, yeah. And then that. Pan, and you can listen to these. We'll send you Pan when your episode comes out. Obviously, we'll send you the link. Pites, if you
okay, cool, okay.
So if you just type in probably Hayastan on Google or on YouTube, there's no video. It's just audio. Hima Pites. You can find all our shows out there, and then you can see some of the cool topics that we've talked about. Pites, regardless, maybe afterwards, whenever our episode comes out, I'll send you like the whole links and everything, easy for you to kind of navigate. Pites.
Well, it's not easy because I'm trying to still, I feel like, remember those caveman commercials? If caveman can do it, well, this caveman can't do it yet. I'm still trying to learn.
Well, we wanted to ask, you're adjusting
I'm still trying to learn this for all these apps, and, I've barely been able to use this phone and the WhatsApp, the rest of them I'm still trying to learn. I see little kids, even 4 or 5 year olds, playing with the phone and doing whatever, and I'm going like, what the hell you guys doing?
Dude,
I'll catch up. I'll catch up.
they can do it. You can do it. It takes a minute, Pites. I mean,
Yeah.
you've been what? How long have you been in Armenia now?
I think it's gonna be 10 months in a couple of weeks.
10 months.
Okay. And right now, Humpig, how much do you feel at home in Hayastan? What was that experience like? How do you feel right now?
I feel like at home. I never, I don't know what it is about me, but I have a very easy times, blending in. Whether it's, whether it was from going from Armenia, from Lebanon to Greece, or from Greece to United States, from United States to prison here. People have a hard time adjusting and blending in. I never had that problem. In prison we had a lot of to you guys, prison means prison, but a lot of stuff happens in prison. They had like violent active years where they stabbing the hell out of each other, and then it eventually became a PC, a lot of protected custody guys, which means a lot of snitches and rapists and child molesters. They started putting in them back from protected custody yards and blending in with the rest of us. And the rest of us means the older guys. We're trying to go home, and we didn't care about all that violent stuff like it was in the 80s and 90s. So we had to blend in with those, even though we didn't have to communicate with them, but we had to swallow our pride and live with those kind of guys, and
Well, hey, you look.
so yeah, I was always adjusting. It was, from very violent prisons, and I went through it pretty good, so they never harmed me. So
Hey,
I
you look
was
great.
able to adjust more.
Humpig, you look very good.
Thank God.
For someone who's
I
been in,
kept my yeah.
no, you look great. You're in shape. You're looking great. You look happy and everything. So I mean, 39 years is a long time, but it seems like you made it out in one piece. So we're very happy about that.
Thank you. Yeah, I did. In a way, I'm lucky, I guess, but I don't mean to brag, but I never really had any hard time adjusting with my surroundings. Even though I did a lot of time, I didn't become like them, but I knew how to communicate with them.
Yeah. Well, you adapted and you had to, and you survived. And but I have to say this though, Hampig, Pan. Since the war, really, like, there's not been any good news from Hayastan. But the one time I actually smiled. The one time I smiled this year when I opened my phone and looked at the news, it was when I saw that you were released and you're in Armenia. So I consider that a win. That was a win for us, and I'm so happy. So.
Yeah. It's kind of funny you mentioned that, but I heard that so many people came to me and said, Humpig, this whole year has been a hell for us. The only good thing that happened for Armenia and the Armenian people is you're coming out of prison. And and I'm very honored to hear that, because I know the Armenian people for a long, long time. I went through a lot, especially those around me, my family and my friends, and people I even didn't know. They deeply cared about me, and they felt the unjust, the situation that, that I would be kept that long, not because, I did my time but due to political pressures, from who they kept me for another 10, 15 years, and one thing about all human beings that is in common, that people don't like unfairness. They don't like people getting screwed, the unjust situations they're in, and what they did to me and the whole Armenian people.
Yeah, to the Armenian people, yeah.
The last 1,000 years is very unjust, and
we've been screwed, man.
So you're right. You're 100% right that me coming out is probably the only good thing that happened to Armenian people last year. This year, yeah.
No joke.
So, Humpig,
thank you for that. Yeah.
And then that's a sentiment that goes around to a lot of us here. And something that we wanted to ask you is life in Hayastan right now. When you first arrived, did it meet your expectations? Was it everything that you thought? What was the reaction to the society there?
Yeah. Well, the government, of course, there was no red carpet and stuff, and I wasn't expecting it, and what happened is, my family and friends, that people know about me or wrote me letters, and the Taşnak Sütun and Home Minutemen and ARS, those people know about me, they're the one that welcome me pretty good, and the people in Hayastan, they barely know about me. The ones that read the Facebook and stuff. In other words, as far as the locals, let's call, even though I don't like put divisions between us, but the Hayastansis or the ones that have never been outside Armenia, they barely know about me.
I was going to ask that. If the locals knew about you,
Yeah. It's not their fault, because the government here, I don't mean to go back that far, but during Levons and other, those days, they used to talk about the Katipanak, the Asala guys, and those are the ones they know about, but they even people think right now, some people think I'm a Salah. Look at them, no.
Well,
I'm
maybe
not a Salah, and
well, maybe if you were around more in the 90s, they would have known, right? Like a lot of those guys were the ones that carried over the 90s, but maybe you're a little too early for that time. But that's interesting.
Information and knowledge is power, they say, and the people in Armenia, they're very unaware of me, and which is fine. I'm not one that goes around trying to show off or nothing. But the media here, the local media, they didn't report nothing. So it wasn't like the whole world stopped when I came here. They didn't turn no parade or nothing, and I was expecting it. But the ones mostly from diaspora are the ones that know about me, and they then and now they recognize me, and they approach me and say a few words, and so to me, it was the question was, again, I'm sorry, I want to focus on the question. I don't want to blabber.
No, blabber, but I was gonna say maybe it's for the best that you didn't get all the attention off the bat. Stay more low key a little bit.
I don't mind that at all. Yeah,
until you adjust to life and everything, you settle down.
Yeah, and that's exactly what we wanted to know.
I think you were asking like how was the
expectations?
How was I? Oh yeah, well, the country is great. As the Armenia is great. There's a lot of things I saw. As far as the city, that is still, like, you see this great, beautiful building, modern building, ones, and right next to it, you see like pile of garbage that hasn't been, they haven't done no work on it for 100 years. It's just people, what seems to happening here is that a lot of people that has those old territory, the properties and homes, they left to Russia and to our US or wherever, and they just leave that place. It looks like a bathroom, it's just falling apart and stinks, and they're not selling it. They're just waiting for the value to go up so they can make more money on it. At the same time, though, even right next to the main square, just like 50 yards from the square, you see this place. It's like you can't believe that this is the center of our capital, and you got a place that looks like that, and they have to do something about that. I think it's embarrassing,
No, Drew.
So the country is great. The country is great. The people politically, they're not great, but the people, Armenian, I've been always worshipped the Armenian people. I love the country and I love the people, but we have a lot of major political issues that,
100%.
like they have no clue about what's going on. But we'll get to that, I guess, later.
Yeah. But you're right, and there's a lot of like everything from the litter you mentioned. It seems like
Well, in Stepanakert, it's really clean.
Stepanakert is
Like
really clean.
Stepanakert is extremely.
Oh yeah,
clean.
yeah. I haven't been to Artsakh yet, and everybody, I know you're not asking a question, but I haven't been there, and
Have you gone
everybody's
around?
advising me not to
Have
go
you
there. Yeah,
have you traveled to the other parts of Armenia and like seen the sites yet, like Yegevetsineta, whatever?
I've been all the way to Gapan. I've been to Gimri. I've been to Vanatsor and Echmiadzin and Van and Kerat and Karni and a lot of other places.
Nice.
Dilijan and Ichevan and I've been to a lot of places. There's a lot of places I still gotta go, but
Which one was your favorite?
Well, I love it all. I love it all. I love. I get attached to a lot. Whether it's Sevan or Gimri or Dilijan and Yerevan and a lot of places. They still they have to be fixed up. Whether it's the streets or sidewalks, and they still have a lot of work to do. But
Well, Hampig, how about when you first saw Ararat? Do you remember where you were?
Yeah, it was in the morning. Yeah, it was.
Everyone remembers their first
morning.
time, Hampig. Everyone remembers their first time seeing Ararat. It's a very magical moment.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, it was. My whole life. I've been looking at pictures of Ararat, and a lot of as you probably know that I wrote a lot of journals in prison. People used to send me a lot of postcards from Armenia and from other places. I used to glue them all to the journals, and I used to write underneath them, and I don't know, I probably got like 150 journals, and I don't know how many dozens of pictures of Masis are in there. So Ararat and I a lot of time, I'm just.
It's cool.
Masis is like our symbol, it's our heart, and
it never gets old too. I mean, like it's the same feeling.
Of course not.
Yeah.
Yes, every lot of countries got their symbol, and Masis is ours, and saying that we know how much work we have to do. I used to think that my generation had a lot of work to do in the 70s and 80s, and I think your generation got even more work to do now, after the last couple of years,
It seems like the more we do, the more problems we get, but
exactly.
But it's what we sign up for. I mean, we say boycott, right? Like it's the struggle, and the struggle includes dealing with other Armenians and organizing and trying to even all the things you wouldn't think is the struggle. It's all part of it. But I wanted to ask. I mean, it's crazy that a lot of us, I mean, we've been to Armenia now, but growing up, or for many people who have not even been there, we feel that connection. We feel so responsible and so in love with the place that we haven't even been to the point where you're willing to risk your life and risk your, 39, 40 years in prison. What do you think? How do you think that happens, or what do you think that is that can make us feel so closely connected to a place we haven't been to?
Well, I think a lot of it is, it's based on love and conscience and responsibility, and like every day, people like me and people like you, like you, I meet guys like you guys every day, that they're so in love with Armenia and the Armenian people, and as human beings, we feel responsibility about justice and about freedom, and a lot of nobody. At least a lot of us don't like injustice. Nobody likes to get screwed over, and some people, they say, what, my love is money or this or that, and I don't care about political stuff. And then you got guys like you and me and girls, a lot of young girls and women that say, no, this, human rights and dignity and service stuff matters, and when we're not selfish. We're not going to go, why, I'm not going to think about myself and having a car and another one and a house and another one and then live for myself when my country and my people are suffering, and, people like that, I'll call them small people, there's millions of them lived and are gone and nobody remembers. They die and and 6 weeks later nobody remembers them. Why? Because they didn't do nothing in their life. They just lived for themselves and they went away, But you got people like Nishte and Tiro and Antonig and Tehlerian and Sosemairig and Krimian Hairig and our poets that they live forever. Why? Because they cared about justice. They cared about their country. They love their country, and they wrote, Shiraz and the Tumanian and the many others that they devoted their life to their country, not because because they felt the love and they felt that their place, that they have things to give to their country, and that's what they did. And we got all the troops and all the ones that sacrificed their lives, and young guys like you guys, you guys
We
could be out
continue it.
having with your girlfriend coffee and stuff, and you're sitting there and doing, giving your time and your sweat for this, because you feel, you have something to give, not
Well,
selfish,
well,
that, and
maybe if
that's what,
maybe if we had
yeah.
girlfriends on Get Humpig, we would. I'm just kidding. Pites. No, there's actually a Bob Marley quote that you reminded me of. Maybe you know it, Pun. It's those who live for themselves will die alone or something, but those who live for others
Yeah.
will live on forever. Like if you work and live for
Yeah.
others, something bigger than yourself,
Yeah.
you'll continue to grow and be remembered and
Yeah.
be bigger than yourself. And I think that is the difference that you're talking about. That there are some people who are more individualistic and think about their own lives, and then there's us who want to be part of something bigger and work towards something bigger and the
Yes.
greater community.
Yeah,
And
it all goes. Yeah, it all could be. It all goes to your morals and your honor. If you feel the love and you feel you got morals and you're gonna see something wrong, you're gonna say no, I'm not gonna accept this. And I'm gonna fight against that. So that you're giving yourself for a cause. That doesn't mean you have to,
yeah,
jump in the front line and get a gun and go to the border or nothing. But
do
you can
something.
serve in a million
Yes,
different ways. Yeah,
do
yeah.
something, do anything. Yeah, I
You know,
agree.
you- earlier you said something that we use a lot in prison when you use the word that we signed up for this. A lot of we use that sentence in prison every time there was riots and stuff like that. And I used to not me myself, but I used to hear others saying, we signed up for this, and we signed up for Armenia and Armenian people and freedom and justice and for our
Yeah,
dignity. That's what we signed up for, and because we care
yeah.
and I salute and I honor those who are not selfish and give themselves for a just cause.
Well,
Like you guys.
something to say. Well, Humpig, you know what I'm thinking about is I feel very similarly to you, but there's a part of me that feels like as I get older, I'm gonna feel. Do people get corrupted by society, or do our morals change, or do we get lazy? Because I feel like by you
Yeah.
being in prison for so long, it kept you almost pure in a sense with your sense of honor and responsibility towards the
Yeah.
homeland. Gurnala, if you hadn't been in that situation, maybe things would be different. And it's pretty because I'm looking around and I think about a lot of the adults out there and their sense of honor and duty. It's lacking it, but granted, that might just come with life and extra responsibilities, families and things, and selling out a little bit
Yeah.
for the sake of supporting yourself and your people or your family. But
Yeah.
but that's interesting and yeah, you're very right. So. But so
So, Hampig, you had a
Can
lot
I
of.
say something about that? Well, let me,
yeah,
you
of
said
course.
something very important, and I want to say something about that.
Yeah.
Like, I said earlier that I don't, I adjust to my surrounding, but I don't let things change me. Like in prison, there was a lot of violence, there was a lot of drugs, heroin. I mean, everybody, I don't know how many young guys come in and they immediately get into gangs or becomes the dope fiends, heroin addicts.
Mm-hmm.
Even though I was around them, I never became part of that. Even though I lived with them, I was part of it, but I never became like that
Yeah.
because I don't let things around me influence me. the good things, not the bad things, and
It shows.
after I came to prison and I to Armenia and I see what's going on here, and you got a lot of guys that give themselves 100% and they don't talk, and then we got other guys, even guys that went to the border and took a picture with AK-7 and came right back and sell themselves as soldiers. They didn't fire a bullet at all. They
Yeah.
just went over there, took pictures, and they put it on Facebook,
You're discovering
and they
social
think
media.
yeah,
It's the phenomena of our
yeah,
generation of it's performative and
yeah,
you're just kind of it's all
yeah,
facade, right? That's what's important with our generation.
yeah.
It's sad, yeah.
And I got another example that I want to use here. When I was arrested, people were saying, "Oh, there was a third person there." There was never a third person, and I went through that with the parole board, with all the parole hearings, for hours and hours, and I kept telling them, there was no third person. It was me and Coco Saliba and period. But adding to that, what's funny is that people know how read about this third person for years and for decades. And the funny thing is, I get like 18 guys that I've been hearing about that's going around telling that they were the third person.
It was me. It was me.
It's not just one guy,
Oh my
like
god.
18. How can the 18 different guys can be the third person? It's just what I'm saying is the point I'm making is that how people they lie and they trying to make themselves important, like they took
Yeah.
part of something they were not a part of. They have no morals and they have no dignity. They have lying to them
Yeah.
is unbelievable. They have no self respect. So
It's
sorry, I didn't mean to drift off, but I
no,
think
you're
that was
good.
a
No.
good point to make.
No, but we've I think our values. I don't know if it's gone worse or better since your time, but it definitely doesn't seem like it's getting better.
And so what we were gonna ask you is, you already talked about some of your time in prison, but
Yeah.
I'm sure you had a lot of time to reflect. What were your thoughts at that time? You went through a long, long time in there.
Like, what were your big conclusions? I don't know about life or about your actions about Armenia.
Yeah, well, when you first, when I, let me just, go back to the beginning. When I was arrested, it was hard to adjust because the county jail, never been in jail. Well, I was in jail for a night or two here and there, but it was kind of hard, but I was getting a lot of letters and newspapers that kind of kept my focus a little bit. The trial was pretty hard. Uh, they were trying to give me the death penalty, and the jury said, no, he's too young. We're not going to give him the death penalty. And they gave me life without instead.
Yeah,
But going
Wow.
from county jail to prison, even though prison is much far more violent, and a lot of people were getting killed here and there. But being able to go to the yard and having a television, makes a world of difference.
yeah,
So what happens in a short time is you just get, with your surrounding, you just get used to the daily life, going to work, going to prison, going to a yard,
yeah,
and watching TV and so you just take a day at a time, and there was a lot of up and down, and sometimes I was thinking, that these people never gonna let me out. I'm gonna die in prison, and there was other times I was thinking, I was 19-year-old when I came in. If they keep me 50 years, I'll be 69. I'm sure after 50 years they're gonna have conscience and they're gonna say, it's time we let this guy go. So I was thinking, if I get out at 69, I'll probably live for 10 years or 15 years. So at least, to be free for a little bit. So it was a roller coaster, going up and down and, sometimes thinking that I'll come out, other times thinking not. But the last few years, when I started going from 2006, when I started going to the parole board and start getting denied and having the Turkish government there all the time. The Consul General of Turkey used to always come there. The State Department used to write letters, don't let this guy out, and all that stuff. The first three times I got denied, of course, 4 years, 3 years, 3 years, and I was getting pretty low, thinking, oh, these people never gonna let me out. But when I got the date in 2016, I was shocked that, hey, maybe there's a chance, and I was happy. Of course, the governor took it and went back again and got denied, and went back and got the date. The governor took it again. The only reason I got out is the court order,
Yeah.
and so yeah, it was a lot of up and downs, but my family, my brother Ara and his wife Angela, and I want to mention some names, the Hasmik and Derian and her family, and Rafi Santikyan and his family, and of course you guys probably know Kaspar and Tero,
Of course.
Kaspar Jivalakyan and Tero Krikorian and Vacha Tomasyan and Narek Santikyan. These guys, did miracles for me. I'm 100% sure that without these four guys, I would have never got out, because
Shout out.
they're like magicians. I think these guys should be the prime minister of Armenia.
Hell yeah,
They're so smart and so.
They could definitely do better.
Yeah,
They could definitely do a better job.
Yeah, no, I don't. I'm too angry still for some reason.
Most of us, I think, could.
I think these guys are, they're like 100% Armenian. They're 100%, loyal to their country and people, and to me, they did miracles with the parole board and with the people they hired, and also Ashley Gamburian. She played a major role when I was in ICE prison jail.
Mm-hmm.
She did a great job to get me here. And Susan Jordan, she was my parole officer's parole attorney the last couple of times. So these guys and girls, they did a great job for me to get me here.
No, that's great. They
And
helped
in
you get
prison,
through.
and in prison, all the letters, and I got, tens of thousands. They kept me, they kept me human. They kept me focused on what I wanted to focus on, Armenia and Armenian people and community and stuff. And, they kept me from getting, away from my values and blending in with that prison and drug and, the culture that was going on in prison. So I want to take this opportunity to thank, all those people that wrote me, all those people that visited me and sent me money to buy food in prison, and the visitors, and, AYF and Homeland and ARF and, all the people from, to Lebanon and Syria and Iran that wrote me, and United States that wrote me for years and years. And, those letters were my lifeline, and I love writing to them, and
Well, Hampig,
a lot of friendships through that.
my chapter, I wrote you a letter once. Actually, I have a funny story for you. But what's funny though is, like, at 11, 12, or I don't know how old I was, but I mean, they're telling us you're gonna write a letter to this guy in prison, and you're like, you're just learning about who he is, and you're not thinking it's really a big deal at all. But now, like, as I'm older, and now that we're talking to you, like, it's crazy to think that those little letters that they made, they're like, hey, we're gonna write it to him. That's what got you out. That's what helped you survive, and that's cool that we got to. That's cool that without knowing, we really got to help you that way. But that being said, Humpig, I remember your letter still, because it was really funny. Because
So you did get my response.
I got your response. I'm gonna see if you remember the joke, because it's really funny. But so I didn't know what to say, because they tell us to write a letter, and I'm like, what do I say to him? DSM, and they're like, look, he loves telling jokes. Ask him for a joke. And I was like, okay, I'll ask him. Hey, Ungar Hampig, do you have a funny joke? So you told me a
Which
joke.
one did I tell you?
Okay. So I didn't understand it till like 10 years later. It was, what time does Michael Jackson go to bed? It's when the big hand touches the little hand. But
When the big hand touches the little hand.
But Humpig, I'm like 12, 13. I don't even know how old I was, but I didn't understand. I was like, I don't get it. And then 10 years later, I hear the joke again, and I remember that moment, and I'm like, I get the joke now, and I never forgot it.
Yeah, that was kind of, I didn't, I realizing how young you guys were. I'm thinking, should I tell them these jokes or not? I tell them, oh, well, I just write it to them. The parents
Yeah,
might read the
whatever.
letter first and not tell them. But I couldn't, I remember those, it was like, you guys like 20 letters, and I'm going like, how the hell am I going to remember 20
Yeah.
jokes, and I was telling the Michael Jackson jokes, like,
That's so
I know
funny.
like 10 of them,
No, but I that's what I was thinking afterwards is like he must have like a book or he must have like a set 2030. And so I was actually over time when I would meet other people who wrote you letters, I always would ask like, hey, did you get the same joke? But I never found anyone. So then I'm like, maybe he knows like maybe he has a Nerovki day,
Do you remember any of the other jokes that you wrote to people?
I know a lot of jokes, and I remember the funny one. I know a lot of them. And in prison, and people used to come up to me, Harry. They used to call me Harry. They said, Harry, tell me a joke, man. And I mean, and a lot of them, even people, the cooks, people that used to come outside to work in prison. You have no idea how many times people told me. He goes, Harry, you miss your boat, man. You should have been a stand-up comedian,
Yeah, no joke. That's
yeah.
so funny. Do you remember any of your favorite joke? Do you remember another one? I'm trying to think.
Well, a lot of them are dirty jokes.
Yeah.
I can't.
Well, so was the
But I got a couple of Baransi jokes I can tell you. In our Armenian.
Give us one.
Baransi. You want me to tell you?
Yeah, let's do it. And you can do it in Armenian because it's usually funnier in Armenian, no?
I'll just give you one. This Abaransi is walking the sideway of Yerevan, and he finds money, and he goes, I wish it was mine,
That's a good one. That's so funny. So a lot of AYF members, we're a generation apart, and we feel connected to that through something so simple as the letters, and I'm really happy that was something that helped you get through. And from what I understand, you wrote a lot of other stuff too, right? Like memoirs and but I don't know. What other things did you write while you were there? Sorry.
Yeah, I wrote like 150 journals, I think.
Great.
A lot of, I got some of them right here, and it's, when I got like 65 of the last journals I wrote, some like 2008 all the way to the end. That's like 14, 15 years of writing. I used to have this girlfriend in Armenia, and I started sending to them, and she's a writer, and she really loved reading the journals, and she used to keep saying, these journals are mine, and I used to say, okay, they're yours, and after she waited for like 14 years for me to get here, which was heroic,
Yeah.
not easy to.
What did you write about? What did you write about, Humpig?
About the prison life and about what's going on in Armenia, and other stories from my childhood that I remember, and people that visit me, and things that I read, and people I had conversations. It's everything. It's like you going home and writing everything that happened today, everything you heard, and I wrote a lot. So what happened, unfortunately, after I came here, and I saw the girl that and we were completely two different people, we just couldn't connect at all.
Oh.
So we split up, and now she's got the 65 of my journals, and
Is she gonna give
she
it
doesn't
back?
want to give them
No,
up. So.
what the hell?
No, so I mean, we're talking about 65 journals here.
She can make copies, man.
15.
She can at least.
I know. I know. I haven't been in contact with her for 6 months now. So
you got time. You got
maybe,
time.
hopefully she'll change her mind, and I'm not, and
send your lawyers.
Of it. I even told her, I even told her she could keep 5-10 of them for herself. The ones that I mostly wrote about her. Hopefully, time can heal.
Yeah, Pan. These journals, did you write usually mostly in Armenian? And I could see this being a way to kind of keep your.
They're almost all in Armenian. I just may have wrote, few sentences here in English too, but they're all in Armenian, and those you guys went to college, I'm sure, and you guys remember those composition books, the one. Yeah, so those are mostly what I wrote on. So it's like
Yeah.
200 pages. So it's a lot of writing. So hopefully she'll get over with it and keep some of them and give the rest back.
I actually just genuinely, personally, am curious to what the process was for you receiving the letters. Can you inch best God and sending them out?
Yes. So it's few times, they printed my address, in Iran and in Lebanon and Syria and United States, especially beginning, there used to be small ad in there, right to Hampig. So a lot of people started writing me,
Nice.
and a lot of them, some of them kept writing me for, you know, 10, 15, 20 years. I got this great friend now. Her name is she's from New Jersey, Diane Tavitian. She wrote me letters for 38 years, and we're still very, very close friends until now. And so what happens is they write, they get my address from somewhere. A lot of times they get it to their friends and stuff, and
Yeah.
they write me. Of course, the letters come, and they don't give me the letters. They open all the letters to look inside, and once I get it, I immediately write back like, I don't want the same day or the next day I write back. It became a habit,
Yeah.
and I love writing letters. So, and when I sent the letters, I give it to them open, and they, look through it and they seal it and send it out. So it was pretty, usually it took sometime like 2, 3 weeks for letters to come from Lebanon, Syria, and Iran, and it's about the same time for mine to get back. And Armenia too. When Armenia became independent, I got a lot of letters from Armenia.
Cool.
But I got a lot of letters from the United States too, so every day I used to get 2 or 3 letters, sometimes 4 or 5. And writing those letters kept me, it's like that was my what do you call meditation. It was like meditation for me.
Yeah.
So, Humpig, you mentioned earlier a little bit about your childhood too, and I'm just curious about, in general, like what was your childhood like growing up in Lebanon, and in particular, the way the ideology that your parents kind of raised you under.
Yeah, take us to your childhood. We're curious. We want to get to know you
we
too.
we were very poor. We used to live with our grandparents. And we had a lot of family issue. My father and his father didn't get along at all, so we had a lot of fights in the house, and we used to live in the edge of this river that used to get flooded every winter. So apparently the Suez or somebody built some houses in like a half an hour away, and since we were very poor and we used to be on the edge of the river, well, they moved us to this brand new buildings that they just built, 3-story, 4-story buildings. That was like a Beverly Hills comparing to what we were living in,
Yeah.
And so the last 3-4 years of our life, we lived there. It was great. As a young kid, I wasn't a good student at all. I didn't like school, and I used to ditch school and get beat up by the teachers all the time for misbehaving.
But
to me,
were your parents where did you get this sense of duty and honor, and did that come from your family or your community?
Yeah, that I was just gonna point that out. To me, I don't know, everybody's different, but to me, it was the songs. I grew up listening to George Tatunjan and Levon Katerjan, and I felt this special attachment to the song and to the lyrics and to the music, especially Levon Katerjan, who just passed away. I was in contact with him.
He's
and
the best. We love
he
Levon.
visited me when I was first arrested, and I love the guy. I think he's the greatest. He was like the Sayat Novara of days. That's why I just love the guy, and so his songs and George Tatunjan, and they were my those songs were my teacher. immediately felt the connection with the songs and the songs about what they did to our people and about our heroes.
Yeah.
They were those songs were my teacher. They have made a special connection with them,
Mm-hmm.
and I felt the sense of duty that why the hell should we be big victims? Why the hell the Turks to just massacre us and
Get away with it,
take our lands and get away with it? Like the hell with that? No, they can bleed just like us, and they gotta do. Eventually, they gotta have some Turk coming power and that has morals and conscience and then he has some human dignities and say, you know what, no, this is not right, and like, and we a lot of we use a lot of Jews a lot of times as examples, that they went through a lot of the stuff we went through. They
Yeah.
for 2,000 years they kept their dream alive of having Israel
Yeah.
one day, and they eventually got it. And
And they got justice for
we have to be
they got justice for their genocide. They got their lands back. Then why if
everything.
they
Yeah,
can do it,
yeah,
then why can't
exactly,
we?
exactly,
Yes,
exactly.
100%.
Yeah, exactly. And we can, if we surrender to evil, what the Turks did, and we say, oh, the hell with it, that was a long time ago. They could let them keep Gaza down and Van and Masis and all that. And what does that say about people that think like that? Oh, they say, oh, I'm not into politics, or it was a long time ago, you know. But if you go and steal their car, they immediately gonna get on the phone and they're gonna call the cops with you, and you say, wait a minute, man, you don't give a shit about your country, but your car, you want justice for that, right? You want to get your car back, but you don't care about your homeland. Yeah, so or that they feel the connection with their car, but they don't feel the connection with their homeland, which kind of says what kind of morals they
That's
got,
a great
and
example. That's a great
you know,
example.
yeah, it just that's a good example to build. Like, your homeland is far, far more width than your car,
Well,
But
but Humpig,
this,
Humpig, you see that
yeah,
because of the lack of justice for us, like it's still a thing that's happening today. They're still trying to take Artsakh. They're still trying to attack. They're still killing Armenians, and they're still trying to take more land and depopulating the Armenians. So it hasn't stopped, and so it's not even a. It's not even a. Oh, it was 100 years ago. Like Tergulagod, it's still happening now, and it's because no one's told that. No one's told them that there's going to be consequences for your actions. So and so I wanted to ask Humpig, in the 70s, 80s, like there was a movement, like people were like, was that the feeling at the time? Like no one cares, no one's paying attention, no justice, zazvadzenk. Can you tell us a little bit about like the mood back then during your time?
Well, yeah. Well, I want to take this opportunity to talk about Coco. Coco Saliba. Coco, I met Coco in Pasadena. I mean, the guy he was far smarter than me. He was far more classier than me, and he immediately got my attention. He was a big brother to me. I mean, the guy he's one of the nicest guy you can
He was your
find.
brother.
He's my hero.
Yeah.
I want to show you something. You see this tattoo right here?
And Nore, you just get it, or Hina?
I got it 3 days ago.
Hey.
If you look close, it's the eternity sign, and then there's a nur on the other side.
It's beautiful. It's dope.
There's 2 Ks there. It says Coco,
Wow.
and then I put the Yeraku Troshak around it. The same tattoo is Coco's sister Aida got the same tattoo, and when we were talking about it, and I told her, Aida, send me that tattoo. I want to get that same tattoo on my arm to honor Coco. He's my hero, and I will never forget him. He's the best friend I ever had in my life, and he's my hero. But anyway, me and Coco, we, when we met, at the time, a lot of stuff was happening in Lebanon. They were bombing the Armenian Burchamut.
There's civil war, right?
Yeah. Yeah. So me and Coco, we were talking about, hey man, we're young guys. They're bombing the hell out of our people. We should go there, but but we never really focused on it because
You're already
at the
here.
same time we were hearing,
Yeah.
that a lot of young Armenians, they were, after decades and decades of trying to peacefully solve the Armenian cause with the Turks, of course, you guys know the Turks are saying the hell with you. We took your land, we could kill your people, go to hell. There is nothing to talk about.
We're getting away with
And,
it, Yeah.
So the young guys were saying, okay, since when you do something terrible to me and you don't want to peacefully talk about it, well, then violence comes next. And you guys hear all the time about this and terrorist that from Europe and America. And if you go back to read their history, they did the same shit that we did. The United States Americans. They started. The word ambush comes from the United States. When the British troops were walking, the U.S. American troops, we used to hide in the bushes and attack them without. In those days, they used to stand face to face and fight each other with muskets, but the United States, they used to surprise attack them with hiding from the woods. So that's where the word ambush comes from. And the English used to call the Americans terrorists,
One person's terrorist is the other person's freedom fighter, right?
And no matter what country, you can go read about any country's history, and every one of them, maybe exception of one or two, they used violence to achieve independence.
Yeah.
And the question, and I still remember way back when Ronald Reagan tried to kill Gaddafi in Libya. And I remember watching the news, and the reporter, I think it was Sam Donaldson, asked the question, what's the difference between us and terrorists? We try to assassinate somebody too, with the leader of another country. And Ronald Reagan answered, he gave a great answer. He said, terrorists use violence as a first opportunity. We use violence as last resort,
Yes.
And when I read that, I threw my arms up and I said, that's what we did. We didn't, just start shooting Turks and said, okay, let's talk peace. For decades and decades, your grandfather and your father tried to reach peacefully, try to communicate with the Turks. They're the one forced us to violence.
They gave us no choice, right? They didn't give us any opportunity to deal with our justice in a peaceful political way, and that's why the Palestinians throw their rocks, right? That's why, yeah.
And the Jews did the same thing. Israel was assassinating Palestinian. Menachem Begin and a couple other people that became prime minister of Israel. They blew up the hotel,
right.
the
in Berlin, right?
I forgot the name of it. In Israel, they blew up. Yeah, they blew up a hotel that used to belong to the English. That was a terrorist attack, and the English called them terrorists. But the thing is that those terrorists became prime minister of Israel. In other words, even the Israelis use terrorism to achieve independence.
If you win, you can write the history that way. But I think it's very interesting. You're very correct that it's through frustration that people will act that way. So. It's
100%.
I understand it, and I think that's what it's mostly about. It's about understanding. William Saroyan has a great quote in his famous quote where he says, or I think it's Antanig of Armenia. It's another thing he's written where he says, these Dashnags, but these people they had to fight because it was the only way. It was the lousy way. He said it's the goddamn lousy way, but it was the only way. So Arvorche. They didn't give I'm happy to hear that because that's how I've always, let's say, thought about it. And
I think it should didn't mean to cut you. See, it's basically first, number one, what are you fighting for? Are you right or wrong? Of course, we're fighting for our country, and we're right. That's our territory. The Turks came from Mongolia 1,000 years ago. All this territory used to be Armenia and Greece, that these are our lands. They came here, okay, they're here now. They're not going to pack their bags and go back. But the thing is, you got a good chunk of land over there give honey back, give the gas back, give Adaham back, give
They need to respect us.
Masis back.
They need.
But they're vultures, they're predators, they're like a rapist, they're not gonna stop halfway until they're done, and then that's what they are. They have no conscience, they have no morals, and they know how to kill. They're a killing machine, and then that's what the West and they're not telling Turks, hey, you got to get the hell out because they're powerful.
And Humpig,
the weak suckers.
What do you do to stop a bully, or especially a bully that is acting in impunity and no one's stopping him? Until they get pushed back, they're not going to stop. Until they realize that they can't bully you anymore, they're going to keep bullying you, and that's unfortunately I feel like where Armenia's at is we're hoping they'll be nice to us, but they're not going to be nice to us until we're tough enough to stand up to them. They
don't. Nobody respects weakness. I was going to point out about the first point is, are you right? Which is, are you fighting for the right cause? And Armenia is our right cause, and justice is our cause. Number one. Number two is are you using violence as a last resort? And we did. We did use violence as a last resort. And third thing is, which is as important as the first two, are you targeting? Are you going out killing women and children, saying, hey, I stop with the law, so I have a right to kill people? No. You gotta take the fight to those who are refusing to talk peace. And that's what we did. We didn't go out shooting Turkish people just walking the streets. We went after the government. That's what we fought with, because I'm using the word fight because they didn't give us no choice to have peacefully talk the problem. So the whole thing is based on big points. Number one, are you right in the cause, and which is our homeland? It is ours, and that is right. Number two, are you using violence as a last resort? Even Ronald Reagan said it. That's we are. And number three, who are you targeting? And we're not targeting women, killing bus full of women and children. We didn't. We only targeted those who were forcing us to violence. So if you meet those 3 points, you're not a terrorist, because that's how I see it, And I hope we don't have to go through that again. We have to try again, and
we can be
try to peacefully. Yeah, first of all, we got to get together. That's what the Armenian people. I mean, this is just terrible what's going on right now. But we'll get, we'll get to that. Yeah.
So, Humpig, what was it like when you heard about that Armenia was finally free and independent?
Well, I thought about that in my journal. It was great, and I was happy as hell. I was like jumping up and down on the yard, everybody I met. I was, I remember it was George Bush, the senior, that recognized all the states, and I was happy as any human can be. It was one of the happiest days of my life, and
That's cool.
It was incredible that,
and then we had
in a way I was feeling I was feeling very smart, saying, I believed in this, I believe we're gonna have an Armenia. I believed in independence, and it's
and it happened.
So
and then we got
I was very, very happy.
And then a few years later, we had one Artsakh back, right? And then now to see it, and to see all that work kind of go for
all Levon Katırcan song, yet we did a stem. Pan hayot pan arka ishkan asar pan at those songs came to my mind, that it finally happened, and there is no Soviet Union, and we got our chunk of land back, after all those like 800 years of suffering and not having an independent Armenia for 90 years or whatever it was, So I was happy as hell, 70 years.
Yeah, no, it was a beautiful moment, I'm sure, at that moment. Obviously, some of us were a little too young.
Yeah, I mean,
I think I got those journals those were the old journals. I got them right there in the bag. So I'm whatever I wrote is I got those right here.
You got to collect them all and do something with it, so that we can also hear your thoughts, and you can maybe make a book or something.
Yeah.
Well, actually, we wanted to ask you what are your plans right now, moving forward in Hayastan, HBDNS? You just got there. I mean, you're still settling and adjusting to life, and I also want to kind of hear about adjusting. How's 21st century technology treating you? What's your plan moving forward too?
I'm barely learning how to use YouTube now. I'm barely learning how to
It's the best. You're
use
gonna love it.
YouTube. Yeah, and Netflix. I watched couple. I thought when I get out of prison, I'm gonna watch like million movies, and I haven't watched nothing.
Oh,
And
come
to be
on.
funny, the only movies I watch is couple of Charlie Chaplin movies. You
The
know,
old ones. There's a million movies, man.
yeah, my
100 million
brothers.
shows.
Yeah, yeah, my brother's wife Angela sent them through the YouTube. I watched it on the phone. I love Charlie Chaplin. That guy made us laugh without even saying a word. You
No,
know,
just
I think he's one of the greatest actors of all time. Anyways, uh, what was the question again? I want to focus on the
Of
question.
course. By the way, you know Charlie Chaplin raised money for the Armenian genocide, right? Like I did back
Well, you know
years
what?
ago.
I think I've heard. I've heard about
He
that.
raised money
Yeah,
for us.
yeah.
It's
What a
great.
guy. Yeah.
But no. So, what are your plans moving forward in Hayastan? What do you plan to do now that you're free and in Hayastan
Well,
and living your
just
life out there?
well, I started working since I was 8 years old. Since we were poor, and I worked the whole time I was in United States, and I worked my whole time in prison, except a couple years when I first came in. I wasn't allowed to work, but the whole my prison, prison years, I worked. I always had a job. The last uh, 12 years that I was in San Quentin, I used to work in the kitchen, waking up at 3 o'clock in the morning to go to work. So I love working, but it's kind of weird to say, but since I've been here, I haven't worked for 9 months yet. And believe me, man, I'm not, Mom, so on that using that Led Zeppelin song, Dazed and Confused. I can't focus on nothing. The situation we're in, what's going on with Artsakh, what's going on in Armenia, even what's going on over there where you guys are in Los Angeles. I'm just so upset. I'm so embarrassed that I'm just shocked that with 10 million people and there's so much division and hatred between us, and then we're losing our country, and then we got people that traders and people who think that they're demagogues,
They're better.
they don't care. They're just they're like
They think they know better than us. Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
yeah,
Who are
they
you?
it's just embarrassing to have such people being called Armenian. That we're losing our country, and I've seen them all. We got people, and they're talking about, Tashnaks did this 20 years ago, 15 years ago, and I'm going like morons, idiots. We're losing our country, and you're talking about what happened 15 years ago.
Get
But
it
these
together.
people don't get it. They're like. If I'm just so embarrassed to have
Well,
people like that around me,
but
And
Hampig, I have to say, like when you do look back at a lot of Armenian history, you do notice that we've always had this. Armenians have usually always been divided, or a big part of the community hasn't been involved in the cause, or a lot of people that are willing to, settle for the bad deal just to save their own skin, if that makes sense. And then in the end, we know it doesn't work. So it's not, for me, it's like it's not a. Like I'm not that I'm not surprised. It's definitely upsetting and disappointing. Pites, we're just as human as anybody else, even though we like to think that maybe we're maybe more special or this and that. But we we got all those same people that any other country has, and it's pretty sad. But what I'm getting at is I feel like the struggle it might feel a lot worse right now, but it's something that our grandparents probably went through, your generation went through, and at 500 years before, Armenians were dealing with the same kind of BS that we deal with too. So it gives me hope in a way too,
It's always, it's like only like historically, I'm not a specialist or historian, but it seemed like, from what I get, it seemed like only like 15, 20, maybe 25% of the Armenian people that really are hardcore Armenians, and they really love Armenia and the Armenian people, and they're the ones that kept us going for 3,000 years. The other
Tumanyan
70,
said
75%. Yeah.
Tumanyan said like 6%. He said something like that. Hovannes Tumanyan back then, he
maybe,
said it was
maybe
like
it's that,
yeah, like such a small percent.
There's three of us right here. Me, you, me, and
Yeah.
three of us looking at each other right now. There's at least we don't have no weaknesses. Our love and devotion is sincere, and all those guys are like you, the AYF, other young Armenians, Homeland Men and Home and ARF, and a lot of other, people who are not member, but they feel the
Yeah.
devotion and the love, and they're devoted to it. Good honor. I honored them. I bowed before them.
And Hampig, I'll say this though: if I have to say something about our generation, and if I feel like the times have changed in any way, because I know of my dad's generation, perhaps your generation, when you were in America, there was a big desire to assimilate and be part of society, be American. It wasn't cool to be foreign and Armenian, let's say. But I'll say this about our generation right now: it seems like it's actually kind of cool to have a unique name and have a cultural background. We're noticing a lot of our Amerigazi friends starting to be more like, oh, I'm Italian, or getting more connected to with their backgrounds. And what I'm getting at is I've noticed a lot of my Amerigahai family and a lot of people, Armenians in general, wanting to now come out of and learn about their background and learn the language. And I don't know if that maybe it's the internet or this or that, but I have noticed that there is a greater desire for the greater population of Armenians to learn about who they are and get involved. And maybe it's died down a little bit. People lose focus over time. In that way, I'm a little hopeful. But how do you got anything?
Yeah, Humpig, what's your message to all those who feel defeated and hopeless in the regards of the cause
right now? Yeah, it's tough times.
Well, I can maybe, if I can, I can use myself as an example. Like I was 19 years old and I was in jail and I was facing the death penalty and I got life without in prison and I went to prison and our people were dying and getting killed all around me. And, the normal guy or a regular guy could have gave up 100 times, or should I say 40 times, and I could have just gave up and became a heroin addict like the rest of them and start stabbing people left and right and hang myself or whatever, But I didn't, my values are important to me. My people and my countries are important to me. And I kept myself with my dignity and I came out with dignity. I didn't become excuse my language, a piece of shit like a lot of other prisoners become in prison. The loving your people and realizing that coming to having the morals and telling, hey, you don't do everything for money. You do things for love. You do things for the sense of duty, sense of responsibility for your country and against for justice and for freedom, and you give yourself for it. You don't have to go die for it, but give few hours of your time. Go to protest, write letters, and then give $100 or whatever. So don't stand by and watch Armenia being destroyed and Armenian people so-called the white genocide. Just marry others and just go away. I'm not gonna just bow down against this injustice. I'm not giving up. I love my people to the death, and I love Armenia, and I'm not gonna fade away. Just go live my life and not caring about what happens to you or your family or my neighbors and my people. I care about it because I love them. I got a sense of duty, and I'm gonna. Like when I came here to Armenia, a lot of people would say, Humpig, you did yours, man. You suffered, you did 40 years in prison. Just go focus on your life, get married, have a couple of children. But I went immediately, I'm part of the protest that's going on, because I see what's going on, just because I did 40 years in prison, my sense of duty to my people and my country is not over with. I still gotta be. One of the worst thing anybody can be is chezok, neutral,
passive.
I can't be indifferent.
They're just as responsible, right? They're just as guilty for not doing anything and standing by.
But if these people, if you tell these people, okay, we're gonna pay you $1,000 a week, become a part of the Armenian cause, the 10 million of them will line up to become become member of the part of it now. Why? Because there's money now.
Yeah.
The people will do anything for money, but they won't do it for love, and they won't do it for sense of duty, and there is no dignity, there is no grace in that.
Yeah. I mean, if there's anything, I mean, like I was saying earlier, the news that you got out of prison was like a good piece of news for us. It made me smile, and it gives us kind of hope, and just seeing you out there, seeing you live your life too, and every time you're in Armenia smiling with people and you're taking pictures with our friends or with people like that, those little things that you're doing are like, that's still affecting me, that's still affecting us, and it's giving us some energy to continue our work. So Hampig, I do want to thank you for everything in general, and and still the fact that you're going to continue to do your part is insane. And like we've talked today, like it was cool to get to talk to you, because I've thought about these things for a long time. I've always wanted to actually have this conversation with you, and I see that like you're just as a romantic revolutionary as I feel in my heart too sometimes. So thank you thank you so much for talking with us, Hampig.
Yeah. I just want, before we close, I just want to tell the young men out there, the AYF and ARF members and Home Minutemen and Home and all the other young men and women that to serve your country, serve your people. Don't be neutral. That's one of the worst things you can be. Give something back to your people, love your people, and AYF and other organizations and youth federations and stuff. Or if you're not a member of it, do it your way, to always give something, money and sweat, whatever it is, give back to your country, love your people, and live your life with dignity. There is nothing honorable in being neutral, and as I bow down to you guys, and so I salute you guys and all the other ones like you, like Kaspar and Turo and Arek and Vache and thousands of others like you, that you feel your love and your responsibility, and you just don't stand by and watch your people and your country suffer, and I hope tens of thousands or more will follow you guys as example, and not let Turks and Azeris let this destroy us and destroy our country.
Us Armenians, we're a big family, and the way I think about it is even with your real family, you get really frustrated. Sometimes they annoy you. Sometimes they, but it's unconditional love in the sense that that's what's part of the struggle. What we talk about is like whether your family member is upsetting or it disappoints you, you still help them and you still fight for them and you still struggle for them because you love them. So we're a family, and what you had to go through, your struggle was for me, and it was for Harut, and it was for all of us, and then now we struggle for the next generation. We struggle for those Armenians that we've never met. So Angel Hampig, again, this was a pleasure, and we look forward to talking to you again and getting to meet again in person. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you guys, and like I said, I really enjoyed I think about an hour that we've been talking. Anytime you guys want, just call, let me know, and I'll be honored to do it again.
Of course.
Thank you.
You are listening to Hayastan Talks, the official podcast of the AYF West. I'm Hampig Sassounian.
And I'm Haru Bird.
And we're just a couple of Armenians
talking in the world.
A couple of Armenians talking in the world.